Now, it's no secret that I love building Warhammer 40K stuff, especially Space Marines and Imperial Guard, things like that. Anything that reminds me of playing with toy soldiers when I was a kid. So toy soldiers, toy tanks, toy helicopters, any of that. If it fits kind of in that area, I love painting it. I love building it. And fortunately, even though those kits are not cheap, fortunately, because of Patreon support and some money from YouTube and selling my models and things like that, I'm able to pick those up from time to time to work on them. So I'm really blessed in that way that I can work on them and show videos about them and things like that. But quite often people will contact me and say, I like the look of those. I like the idea of sci-fi toy soldiers and toy tanks and things like that. But it's kind of expensive. Are there any cheaper alternatives? And I've been looking for some that I thought I could recommend. But I finally ran across something that I think would fit the bill. I was going through Amazon looking for something else. And you know how they suggest products? You might also like to consider this. And I ran into something called Warpath. Now, what Warpath is a tabletop game. It's put out by, I think it's called Mantic Games. And Mantic or Manta, I don't remember. I think it's Mantic. Doesn't really matter. But initially I saw this vehicle and I thought, hey, that looked pretty cool. In fact, when I saw the picture, I thought, is that some kind of 40K vehicle I've not seen before? But it's the same scale as the 40K figures. And it's got this sci-fi look to it, this, alternate universe, futuristic looking thing. And then I got to looking at this and I ran into this squad of soldiers. These are Ranger snipers / tank hunters. And apparently they're from the global co-prosperity sphere. I don't know anything about that. I don't play the games, so I'm not really worried about that. But I took a look at these and, it's a vehicle and some figures and their own bases, and there's different options for a few guns and things like that. And I thought, this looks like stuff that would fit into 40K. And even if you're not a 40K player, and I understand some 40K players use these as proxies because they're cheaper than 40K stuff. This set of 5 figures, these are specialist figures. If this would have been from Warhammer, it might have been 40, 50, 60 bucks. That Gaunt's Ghost set that I built back in January, it was like $65. These were 18. And this, if this were a Warhammer vehicle, it might be anywhere from $35 to $60. This was $24, I think. So for not near as much money as it would take to buy some Warhammer stuff, I found some stuff that is very similar to it, has the same look, is some cool future sci-fi stuff, but it doesn't cost very much. Now, these 2 kits are very bare bones. They come with the parts. They came in bags. I've taken them out of the bags. The figures were just one sprue with the figure parts on it. There's a few alternate pieces that are resin, but you don't have to use any of the resin pieces. It comes with some very simple bases. I believe they're 28 millimeter scale. The vehicle came, all the parts were in a bag. There's no instructions, no decals, anything like that. But I've already kind of gone through and just started test fitting things, and it's very simplistic in terms of, you can look at the picture on the cover and you can play with the parts and figure out, okay, that snaps in here, and then one of these side walls goes on over here, and the other one goes on the other side, and you see the fit there. That's pretty good. Perfectly acceptable for once you glue that together. That'll make a good seal. So it's not going to be anything difficult to assemble. And it looks really cool, I think. Now, one thing I wasn't sure of was when I looked at the art that they showed for the figures, I couldn't tell how good the sculpts were because, I hate to criticize because I'm no great figure painter, but I was looking at this and going, okay, I can't tell if these are really bad sculpts and they just tried to paint in detail, or if that's just not a really good high quality paint job. Because, you know, when you're looking at Citadel kits, when you look at the cover of those, they do, even the most basic paint job is very, very good. So, you know, presentation means something. But when I got the actual figures, I was quite impressed with the sculpt. They're not the exaggerated physical proportions like the Imperial Guard are and things like that. In terms of physical proportions, they're more realistic. I'd put them, if you've ever looked at Star Wars Legion figures, especially the newer ones, they're much more in line with that. But it just comes with a sprue. You get 5 sets of legs, or you get 5 torsos. You get 6 sets of legs. One of them is a resin kneeling set of legs. I'm not sure why they did them as resin, but they did. Then there's alternate heads. You've got heads with the visors down and some kind of scope targeting thing over their eye. You've got some that are visors up but helmets on. You've got a couple that have no helmet on. There's backpacks, there's knives, there's guns, there's mines that you can put on for sidearms and things like that. You've got various guns that you can give them. Not only these resin ones, I'm just sticking to the hard plastic ones, but they have different guns, and I like the way they do it. Is you have you'll have an arm section, and it's got a letter associated with it, and then the guns that are compatible with that particular arm section use the same letter, so it's easy to figure out. Like this guy here, I gave him a big old grenade launcher, and I still got to drill out the barrel, and I gave him the full helmet with the scope and the visor thing on. But you see the detail on those is quite good, much better looking than their art would have you believe. Now, my plan right now, and you know me, plans change, but my plan right now is to do this in at least 3 videos, because what I want to do is do one video building or painting the figures. I want to do one video painting and weathering the vehicle, and then my plan right now is to do another video putting them into a diorama so that it'll have the vehicle there and then the guys walking around it like they're on a patrol or something like that. Right now my thinking is I'm going to do this with a desert look to it. 1, because desert stuff is really easy to weather, but 2, doing groundwork for desert is also really easy. You just basically glue down some dirt. So that's a lot easier than trying to do something that's got a lot of grass and trees and things like that. But but my angle will be on it with the idea in mind of, okay, let me be helpful, will be to basically say, hey, if you like the look of these Warhammer 40K things that I do, the toy soldiers and the toy tanks and stuff like that, but the budget is a little much for you, take a look at these. They actually sell sets that look like it's kind of a starter set for the games where you've got 2 complete factions and the rules and all of that. So I could see that if somebody were really interested in, playing a game that is probably a little simpler and less involved, they could spend, the full set was like $140, but you get 2 complete, opposing forces with 20 or so, 30 figures each and some vehicles and stuff and all the rules and everything you need for that. I could see how if you were wanting to play the game, that would be interesting. But again, I'm not going to play the game, but I'm really looking forward to building these, and I'm quite happy to have found something that's got some cool vehicles that looks like the 40K stuff that I like doing, but it's not near as expensive. There's a flyer that they've got that I've got my eye on for some other time in the future. But anyway, if you're interested, again, it's Warpath, and that's from Mantic Games. And I got both of these on Amazon, so they're fairly easy to come by.